The little review of absolute value. You guys practiced this yesterday. So let's take a look and see. I did take about, go ahead and pause the video, take about as long as you need to finish these problems, and then hit play and we'll see what you come up with. All right, so the absolute value of -4 is simply 4. Here, since the absolute value is only around the 7, it's going to be 7 plus 5 for a total of 12. This one, the negative is on the outside the absolute value, so it's a -15. And here, we're going to solve this part first, like a set of grouping symbols. 4 minus 2 is 2, plus 12 is 14. All right, then order from least to greatest. First thing we're looking at is -4, 0, 1/2, 5, and 7. Working my way here, it's the same idea. -38 happens to be the least, it's farthest to the left. -14, -12, 9, and 12. The positive numbers will always be to the right of the negative. Okay? All right. So today we're going to move and build on that idea and do adding integers. So you've actually already been doing a lot of this stuff, especially this first two problems since you were in kindergarten. And to be fair, you've really been doing this second line since you were in kindergarten too. I'm going to help you apply it today. So our goal, we're going to take some time and think these through and say, okay, how do we do a problem like this? How do we use what we already know to build on that and create rules for working with integers? So we know that 5 plus 4 is 9 and 3 plus 2 is 5. So let's apply what we're looking at. What kind of numbers are 5 and 4? Well, since they don't have a negative sign in front of them, they must be positive. And they're both positive. Same here. So it seems like when I have the same sign, I'm just going to put them together. I wonder if that rule applies when I look over here at 3 and 4. It actually does. That when I have two negatives, think about it this way. If I owe mom $6 and I borrow 3 more, it means I'm taking $3 from her. I'm owing her money. I'm now going to owe her $9. Same here. Now, why would I have a second set of parentheses around here? It's not for a grouping symbol. It's just to separate the plus and the minus. It gets confusing when you have too many positives, negatives sitting right next to each other. So this is the same rule. It's 6. Okay? If you look down the page, so we've now kind of figured out the rule for this one. When your numbers are the same, either a positive and a positive, or you could have any number of positives, or all negatives, what you're going to do is add the numbers and keep the sign. So if it's negative, it stays negative. If it's positive, it stays positive. Now, down here is a little different. Here, I'm going to draw it out as a number line for us to take a look at. So because this is addition, I'm starting at -5 right here. Let's put 0 over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, -5. Okay? And now we learned in last lesson that negative just means left. Positive means go right. So if I go 3 spaces to the right, I'm at 2. So my final answer here is 2. Now, what's another way I could do this? What if I did, sorry, it's -2. What if I did 5 minus 3? Wouldn't that get me 2? Well, how would I get the negative? Well, the rule comes out to play, which one is bigger? Who's got the bigger? So it goes back to that same idea of borrowing from mom or dad. If I owe mom $5 and I pay her back 3, do I still owe mom money? Yeah, because I owed her more than I returned. So the idea behind it is the number with the greater absolute value works. Whether the negative is first, this one is 4 minus 3 gives me 1. Which one has the greater absolute value but the 4? So the answer stays positive. Whether the negative is second, 8 minus 2 is 6. 8 has your greater absolute value. And finally here, 6 minus 1 is 5. And -6 is the greater absolute value, so my final answer is negative. And that's our next rule. When you have different signs, a positive negative, or a negative positive, or any number of different signs, you're going to subtract and keep the sign of the greater absolute value. Of the number with the greater absolute value. And you can abbreviate greater or absolute values ABS. That's what you'll see in most math textbooks, value. Okay, so the whole goal is really taking into account that addition and subtraction are really similar to each other. And you've actually been doing subtraction negative numbers your entire life. If you start interpreting the idea of +5 and -3, instead of thinking of that as a -3, you think of it as -3. That's really what you've been doing. You just didn't think about that because you couldn't work a number with less than 0. until you got a little bit farther on in your ability to think. So that's another way of seeing it. Let's take a look at a couple of these. Why don't you take a few minutes and try one, or pause the video and try 1 through 4. All right, so let's take a look at how we did it. -7. This one's going to be 6, -16, and -1. Each time I have a negative, or any of these, the greater absolute value, these are the same signs, so I'm going to keep it. All right, now before we jump into the next section, let's take a look at number 6. Number 6 has a fraction, and we need to know where this negative right here goes. So if you think about division for a minute, you're splitting things up into groups. It's really what division breaks down into. Can you have a group of less than 0? And you know you can't. So because of that, your negative is always going to go up to the numerator. So it's really going to be -4 over 13 plus 12 over 13. So you do your subtraction because you have different signs. You end up with 8 over 13. And the greater absolute value is right here, so you keep it positive. All right, take a minute and try the other 3 on that line. All right, so this next one is going to be 24. Again, the greater absolute value is positive. Here you have same signs, so you're going to make it -12. And you get different signs. You're going to get -2/4, but you know that wouldn't be correct. You'd have to simplify it to -1/2. You can write that like this, or you can write it like this. Either one is considered correct. Okay? All right, let's take a look at some real-life word problems. Kevin is playing a trivia game. He scores in each round 1, +100, +200, +500, -300, +400, and -500. What's the total score at the end of the game? Well, here's how we work it out. There are many different ways. You could go straight across and just add them up. You could add all your positives, add all your negatives, then subtract. Okay? Or you can use a little bit of logic. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and do the second way first, then we'll talk about the logical method. So if we do 100 plus 200 plus 500 plus 400, we get 1,100. No, sorry. Apologize for my math inability. 1,200. I add -300, -500. That's going to be plus a -800. Well, greater 1,200 minus 800 is 400, and 1,200 being the absolute value, he has 400 points. The other way to think of it is going back through this. Hey, -500 and +500, they actually cancel each other out. They make 0. They're inverses of each other. Is there a way I can make an inverse of -300? There is. I can take the 100 and 200, and I can cross those out, and I cross out, these are inverses of each other. Look what's left. Look at the answer we got last time. Same thing. So it's just another way to think about a problem. All right, pause the video and figure out how the Pittsburgh Steelers did. A couple of notes. You need 10 yards from where you start to get a first down. Okay, so try to figure out how far the Steelers ran in 3 plays and how many yards they need to get their first down. All right, now that you've taken a look at it, you start on the 20-yard line. So they're starting with positive 20 yards. You gain 6, you lose 8, and you gain 3 more. So I'm going to do what I did on that first problem. I'm going to add up all my positive numbers to get 29 minus 8. That means they're going to be on the 21-yard line. And then I know that they have to get 10 yards. So to get to 30, they need 9 more yards, which means they're probably going to punt the ball to gain another first down. Okay? Now you've had a chance to take a look at this. There are plenty of ways to practice. If you have questions, again, reach out and I'd be happy to help you.